Welcome to Alex Nanny, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are joined today by Alex Cisternose, who is the Chief Operating Commercial Officer for Statera, and we are live here at DARM. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Alex, so good to see you. Got two Alexes now?
Yeah,
Two
it's
Alexes,
so easy.
one Annie?
Great name. Yeah.
I feel
Good
like
to be here.
I should have put him on
You
the
should
other
have,
side.
yeah,
Yeah,
in the middle.
Alex, Annie, Alex. But yeah. So Alex, you and I worked together years ago when you were at Wyndham, and so I feel like this was really exciting to be able to see you kind of come back into the vacation rental. You were gone for a little bit. You went to, I'll say, the dark side. You were back at the hotel world, and you came and joined us in the vacation rental world again. But tell us a little bit about Statera. It's relatively new on the scene, but not unheard of, and you're making a lot of moves, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Statera is a company that it was found about a year ago. So we are going through the process of buying great businesses. Obviously, in our industry, the definition of great means a lot of things. So we are focusing on properties that provide a great experience to guests. It has a solid foundation. Many of the businesses that we are buying, they have amazing brands. Like we bought Prime Vacation Anna Maria Island. We bought Movie Mountains in Colorado, and we continue to buy businesses. We have one in Hilton Head, Cape and Coast. So we have done 4 acquisitions. We are actively looking for great businesses to buy. The general thesis here is that similar to Wyndham, when I think about my Wyndham experience, Wyndham started acquiring vacation rental companies almost 30 years ago. And it was a process that started in Europe, and we bought good businesses. I remember one of the businesses was 80 years old. So
Wow.
we are part of an industry that has been around a long time. I think the joke is that we are the second oldest industry in the world, which is great to know that. But we are going through a similar process. We recognize that the guests are looking for great experiences. There are companies also that as they get to a certain size, it's very difficult to scale. So we see the opportunity, and we have the backing of GSP, Gardner Station Partners, which is a company that has been investing in other fragmented industries. And the difference here is that we are looking to invest in companies. So like I was yesterday talking about some opportunities that we have on AI and how we can use data. They have connections to be able to do that work. We are talking about taxes and accounting and branding and all the elements of our industry, and they are willing to give us assistance and really work with the companies that they have found. They have greater reputations. We just want to take it to the next level.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different ways people are doing this type of kind of consolidation these days. You've got franchise, you've got this type of model, and within each there's different players. But at the end of the day, it's about trying to make the resources all work best for as a larger group. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you approach that, and like what are some of the things, the economies of scale that you're able to push down to the companies that you purchase.
Yeah. So this comes from some of the previous franchise models that the hotel industries did. You look for functions and areas of the business that are difficult to navigate and properly support. So take finance, for example. I think that's a function that it can be centralized, and we can provide support to the local teams. Revenue management is another interesting area, and we are here at the conference. So that's something that we are looking to implement more advanced tools to the existing revenue managers. Like we have really good people in many of these businesses. They know their product, they know their distribution. So it allows us to think about, okay, if we want to bring, for example, a large AI model to train on text analytics, we can do that from a centralized place and make their lives easier. Same with picking and choosing the right revenue management system tool or the right BI solution. So we are picking and choosing what are the right technologies and functions that can make everyone's life easier. Like by no means we want to go and centralize everything. I think that's something that over the years we have learned, that not everything can be centralized, but just picking like anything that creates friction is a headache. We want to be able to to really have that in a central place.
Well, and I think there's a lot of friction in this business, so and I think anybody's looking for ways to remove the friction that they do have. But in terms of identifying the property management groups, what is your ideal group look like? Is there a specific location you're trying to get? Are you trying to make sure that you have a good balance between beach and ski? What is it that you're looking for in an operator?
So, as I said before, I think we want to buy good businesses that have been operating long enough that they have a reputation. They need to have a good reputation with guests. They have to be part of a community where they have connections that allows us to operate effectively. That's something that we have seen with Movie Mountains, for example, and Steamboat. Some of the work that Robin and the team have done allows us to find a really good foundation that allows us to enter other markets. Similar situation with Prime and other the acquisitions. Is really when I think about our business, is a lot about people, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have a very strong team, a foundation, you have a reputation with guests, with owners, with your communities. I think those are good businesses to buy. We are not necessarily focused on, okay, we need to balance beach and ski. We are really looking for the experiences that people are looking for. Like mountains is another great example that during my time at Wyndham, the Smoky Mountains in areas like that. I remember the joke, I started the industry in timeshare. So Branson, Missouri, I didn't know much about Branson. But as I started working with different sets of inventory, products, and destinations, you recognize that customers are looking to go to these places to have a good time. So I think it has to be the combination of where guests want to go, and good product, good business that we can take on, and being able to add more resources, more support, and grow those businesses.
Awesome.
Right. From a marketing standpoint, what is the plan to try and leverage the areas not against each other, but to work together, right? So that people that go to the beach, they next year want to try the mountain destinations. Is there a plan to converge those?
That's actually a hot topic, and it was always a hot topic for larger organizations, whether you operate in 10 markets. It's like, how do you cross-sell different markets? The way I view it is that we have the ability to continue to build on the existing foundation. People want to go and ski and have a great time. Similarly, they want to go to Florida, enjoy the beach. We want to continue to focus on those markets and with those customers. But at the same time, I think this is another area of buying businesses that you can bring expertise. Like, if you start looking at the customer profiles, there's some overlapping.
Yeah.
And you recognize that, like, just take somebody that is spending $20,000 in a home to go and ski in Steamboat. It may be equally interested, especially in markets that you have, like Texas is the ideal market because they go north and they come to Florida. So there's some overlapping. So we are already in the process of centralizing all of the data, bringing good understanding of who are the customers, how we can leverage that information in one place so we can start eventually playing with that. The question then becomes is, what is the right message for those customers? Because they know Movie Mountains, they know Anna Maria Island, but they don't know each other.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go through the process of, it's like dating. We need to first introduce them and then eventually build on those relationships.
Yeah, and on that, do you think that you're going to evolve into marketing Staterra, or is it going to be Moving Mountains by Staterra? Like, what does that look like in terms of the messaging going forward?
We're still in progress. I think Staterra is a brand that we want to be able to present to property managers that want to move to the next level, and we want to be part of a good relationship. I think from a guest perspective, we learned this at Wyndham, that even with a hotel brand, it's very difficult to promote a different experience in the vacation rental space. So I think we want to continue to focus on what the current brands are, continue to build on that. I think the Staterra decision will come later. It also is very expensive to build a brand. I think when you look at the work that Airbnb has done, I remember my first trip to Airbnb in 2013, Airbnb was not a brand, and it has taken them about 15 years to get to where they are. So it's a process, it's expensive, you need to be able to tell a story. And I think we have some good local brands that it allows us to continue to build that relationship with what we have.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a loyalty program in the future could tie it together from your experience on the hotel and
Loyalty.
timeshare.
That is, I
Lock
left.
them in. Lock 'em out.
So I left in 2019. I came back. I'm fascinated by the number of vendors that we see upstairs. A lot of good technology, but loyalty is not upstairs.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is interesting to see that
Yeah.
that is an area that we haven't solved for it,
Yep.
and whether there's a place for it. I think loyalty is one of those terms that we loosely use it. I think loyalty is, to me, is more in the current hotel space is more about you're just part of a club, but you're not loyal to it.
Yeah.
I think loyalty
There's no
comes.
connection.
There's no
Yeah.
connection. I think that's what is missing. At Wyndham, I spent 3 years analyzing that with the Wyndham Rewards program, and we never found a way to make it work financially because you need to replenish the cost of points
Yeah.
with the incremental demand, and the math didn't work out. And you really need to you need to almost lift demand by bookings by about 20%
Yeah.
in order to pay for your loyalty program. But there's still a place. I think there's somebody's gonna figure that out.
Yeah, maybe you guys will.
Yeah, maybe we'll be talking about that quite a bit, I'm sure.
Yeah.
that's
So why don't you tell us about the team that you've put together? I noticed that Wendy Glover just joined you recently. She's been, well, she worked with you at Wyndham. She's been around for the industry for a long time. But tell us a little bit about the people, the key players that are in Statera right now.
Yeah, so we have a corporate team that we are supporting. The businesses that we are acquiring is led by ML Clark. She's the president of Statera. She came from Wyndham. I worked for ML for 5 years. Before that, she was with Ritz-Carlton. So what's good about ML is that she has an emphasis on hospitality. And I think a lot of the businesses, when you see what the businesses that we're buying, is that we want to work with people that love hospitality, the complexities of it, the ability to provide great experiences. So we have a strong foundation with somebody like that and the experience that ML has. We have put different team members in the finance world. Like we have Mike Toscano, our CFO. He has led organizations more on the timeshare hotels, and he's bringing a lot of that experience as well. So we are putting the pieces together. You mentioned Wendy Glover. Part of what we're gonna be facing, and I already see it, is that our industry has evolved a lot from when I left to now, but technology is fragmented. So you are solving for different components of the journey, the customer journey, by implementing new technologies and more technologies and so on and so forth. So having somebody like Wendy is going to allow us to look at the customer journey, pick the right technology. We need a platform, and we need to be able to have the right PMS. That's what was great at Wyndham. We manage 110,000 units in 32 countries with a core platform, and we want to be able to bring technology, enhance the experience, help the businesses. I don't know what that is going to look like. We have almost, I want to say more than 60 technology pieces right now in all of our businesses. Now, what is going to be, what we need is Wendy is going to play a key role. We just hired somebody that is going to be leading our development team. We also are investing on other areas that are going to be centralized, providing support to the different businesses from the corporate level.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So on a daily basis, how hands-on are you with the companies?
Right now, we are very hands-on. So I can, in the commercial side, my role is revenue management, marketing, sales, technology, data, and we've been working on bringing the information into one central place. That was crucial to be able to operate and navigate quickly. So now every day we have reports and we have the ability to look at performance. On the marketing front, same conversations. Monday, we start working with each of the teams, understanding what are the plans. from the get-go, you see opportunities to enhance these businesses by bringing maybe some of your knowledge that has worked on the, multifamily business, hotels and whatnot. So very closely involved on a daily basis. I think it's, as we build the team, it's going to allow the different team members to dedicate more time. I think that's something that we finish the day and we regret that we didn't spend enough time on the business today. But tomorrow, as we continue to make it more efficient, I think we will be doing more of that.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, just going back to when you purchase a company, are you purchasing them with the understanding that maybe the owner stays in for a certain amount of time, or do they exit immediately at that point? Like, or are there just hybrids based on the companies that you are purchasing?
One thing that I've learned over the years is that for many people, many property owners that are selling the business, this is their baby,
Yeah.
right? So none of us are going to walk away from our baby day one. So we want to be able to have them close to us, and as long as they want to as well, because in some cases they need a break, right? And
Yeah.
and they wanna move on to the next adventure. But the ones that want to stay with us, we want to keep them. And sometimes it may be as an advisor, sometimes it may be running the company for the next 6 months, and then until we have a solid transition plan. But we definitely want them to, pick their brain and know what the secret sauce has been in order to continue to grow these businesses.
Perfect.
Let's see. What do we have till 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's one thing that you're really excited about to try in 2026 that you haven't tried yet in your many years career?
I think this year for us is continue to build a platform, and I think by the beginning of next year we will be in a better place that we have the ability to anticipate demand. I think more consistently, being able to bring new customers. I'm looking forward to finding the right balance of what the mix needs to be in our business. I think the other observation coming back from being outside of vacation rentals for 5 years is that the reliance on some of the OTAs. I think there's an opportunity to continue to leverage these great brands that many of our businesses have, and really find ways that we can connect with customers. We are already working on AI, so I think everybody now is an AI company, which is good and bad. But I think the opportunity to bring some automation into our daily lives and being able to take advantage of what AI is doing across different organizations. I think I will be spending a lot of time on that. That's part of my background. I started in this industry as a data scientist, so that was my first job for Senden back then. So seeing how the industry, all the industries are now using data and algorithms and math. I'm also a math major, so it's very exciting for me to eventually use that next year.
And did you build your own technology on top of the different PMSs that the companies are on to be able to see that type of reporting? Because that's one thing that's very hard for companies, especially if they're multi-market.
Yeah, so right now we are in the process of bringing the data into a data lake. We are using Microsoft Fabric is going to be the foundation of everything that we have. There are opportunities to bring in the right set of data. So right now we are focusing on PMS information, transactional. There's also Google data that I think is an opportunity. I think maintenance and operations and reviews, kind of everybody lives in their own world. I want to be able to bring that and create dashboards so we can anticipate what some of those challenges are. But we started with, let's bring what we have. I think we have also good partners that help us build good reports, and I think that's something that we are in early stages of navigating through what is managing an enterprise of multiple brands, multiple systems.
Yeah. So we're live streaming these throughout the day on the YouTube channel, correct? So if there's anybody in the audience, anybody watching, anybody that goes back and watching, if they're interested in maybe perhaps pursuing a possibility of exiting and getting, selling their company, what would you tell them to consider, and should they reach out to you to have a conversation about that?
Yeah, we are definitely interested in talking, and we have our Statera team here, so we're it's not just me, and definitely we have the right people here to have those conversations. we are a company that want to be able to continue to integrate businesses that are at the point that they are already delivering great experiences. They have a reputation. We don't want to come and centralize everything. Like, one thing that I've learned and throughout my career is that that's a mistake that I've made personally, that we need to find the right balance, because the experience is happening at the local level. So we need to continue to empower them. So by no means this is there's also this stigma of being backed by private equity. What I personally can say is that not all private equities are the same. And I think in our case, the backing that we have is with resources, knowledge, financial support to be able to grow these businesses. I think I've done about maybe 30 acquisitions throughout my career, and I was fascinated, find it fascinating that one business gets to a certain point and they cannot move to the next level. I think we can take help those companies go to the next level by really being good partners with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. This is our first ever live stream.
Thank
So
you, Alex, for being
it was great to
Thank you.
catch
That
up
was
with
pretty
you.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Could you grab a picture of us real quick? I don't know if we're still live.
Alana. Will you take a picture?
Or here.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Maybe we should
See
we'll,
that?
we'll be able to see the
Just sit 'cause
logo.
we can see
Oh,
it.
yeah. I was just
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
take this.
Oh, yes, and I get the DARM up
There
here.
you
We're
go.
good. We're all DARMed out. 3, 2, 1. Lovely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great job,
Thank
guys.
you.
Really well done.
Oh, thank you.
I'm biased. I think you guys are excellent.
We appreciate it. I mean, it was all Alex.
Yeah.
That one.
Well,
So you're gonna be doing this throughout the day?
We've got one more tomorrow,
I'm
but
good. How are
Simon's
you?
doing some of them, and then I'm not sure what other podcasts. he's got.
Yeah, I'm
Have
glad
one
you
other
were able to come.
I think
said you were
Tim
going
and
to.
Tiffany are
Well, I
doing
didn't
a
show up
couple of
yesterday.
them,
Well, no,
so
I
I
went to
think
the
everybody
wheelhouse
kind
thing
of got to
last
sign
night.
up
Yeah.
for spots.
Are you gonna come over
So,
tomorrow
so
too?
where are you now? I'm sorry.
Is there
Yeah, no,
anybody
it's-
you
Where
wanna
in
yeah.
Casa Blanca?
that I
Yeah,
can
I was
see?
Casico, and I think when I first met you, I was with Condo World during those years. Yeah, and so I have
mean,
my
you could throw that into
it's
kind of a baited
I know it really
statement,
is.
you
isn't it?
know, but their PMSs are here, so they're probably not.
Yeah, I know. It's not good. That's, yeah.
doing a lot of
So
things. And
I'm talking to the wheelhouse. Actually, what it was,
Throughout the period that I was out, I would listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
oh, they're doing a
Yeah,
thing.
they're
now.
doing another one.
It feels like we're just to continue to stay connected.
Yeah, it's fun. We definitely enjoy it, and for us, it just our network is just ballooned from having it. So it's a good hobby for us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now that I'm sure that you are.
So we're good on the, just the two of us. Clip it in, okay.
Oh, DGI.
Good.
Is it on? Are we going now?
I think so, we're good.
Ooh, is it already live? Are they all asking? Has everybody seen me ask? Is it we're live?
I've never done a live stream before, have you?
No, I don't think I have. So
All right.
usually I try to make sure I can edit all my mistakes out.
Yeah.
The guy who finished first in the open took 3 times. Good.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming to our session. It wasn't widely marketed, so happy to see some faces in the audience today. My name's Ashley Ching, and I'm the founder and CEO of InHaven. At InHaven, we help professional property managers really set their standards for around the comfort of the stay, the sleep, bathing, and eating experiences, and then we help them replenish on those and promote those standards to their guests. And I'm joined here with Steve Schwab.
Yeah, hi, I'm Steve Schwab. I'm the founder of Casago. Started the company when I was 28 years old. I had been working at it as my only adult job since then. Started in Puerto Penasco, Mexico, grew it from there. Recently, we did a merger with Vacasa. You may have heard about it. As we've done that, we are currently taking the entire model and turning it into a franchise model, in which we are selling off every single market to locally owned and operated operators, believing that's the correct model for this. We're discussing that in a little bit. Our plans are to finish up this within the next 16 months, and then to look to the next steps of how we build the brand going forward.
So, late last year, obviously, Vacasa announced its distressed sale to the CasaGo consortium. And 3 weeks later, unbelievably, the largest property manager in the hotel space, Aimbridge Hospitality, announced its out-of-court bankruptcy restructuring. And so these near concurrent events led Inhaven to do a bunch of research, to go out and ask the question, why the two largest management companies were failing on both the hotel and the vacation rental side. And we wanted to really get beyond the media narrative. The media narrative told us that, it's because of the executive teams. Well, 15 different executive teams had tried to solve for making national hospitality management successful, and it didn't work out. Other people blamed private equity, but we've seen that national public companies haven't worked in the public space either, so it can't just be private equity. People blamed exogenous events like 9/11, the financial crisis, but many management companies have survived through this. And so we set out to interview hundreds of executives across the restaurant, hotel, and vacation rental space in property management. We talked to people that were both local operators and national operators to understand what makes for successful hospitality management and where do the failures occur. And we really tried to peel back the onion to understand, it goes well beyond what the media narrative had put out there. It really became a structural issue for these companies. And so what we uncovered were really these 5 key pillars to successful hospitality management. And so Steve and I want to talk about that today. And I should note that one of our advisors at Inhaven is another Steve Joyce, who's the chairman of Aimbridge Hospitality, and we've taken him through our case study as well. And a lot of the things that we uncovered through these interviews, he's very much doing today and implementing to turn around the Aimbridge Hospitality business as well. So the first key pillar that we...
Before we jump to the first pillar, I'd just like to mention that I think what's important to understand is that as we went through this and actually shared the report with me, it confirmed what I believed a lot about the industry and what was going on. Was it specific events like 9/11, COVID? No, it wasn't these sort of things. Was it necessarily the talent of the exec teams or the CEOs? No, it wasn't that either. It really comes down to structure and design that has a lot to do with the reason why we've seen these multiple failures happen within hospitality at certain size and points. So I think that was a great part of that's why I was interested in having a discussion about this report after reading through it, and where really the thesis of it all comes from. And like Ashley said, there was 5 different pillars. First one is the curated portfolio, and
so this one, so curated portfolio, it's really important. We heard this over and over again from the executives that we spoke to, making sure that each property could be profitable on its own. We heard things like 4 out of 5 properties have to be drive-by and wave properties. Essentially, they're sort of taking care of themselves, and you're just dealing with one issue property of the 5. A lot of people spoke about you really need to weed out those bad properties, and bad properties have different attributes, like what makes them bad. It could be that they're unprofitable. It could be that they require a lot of maintenance, or they've got difficult owners. But really looking at your portfolio and making sure it's curated. And I liken back to, or we talked to some of the executives at Panda Express. So Panda Express, when they bring on a new location, all the executives will go out and visit that mall. They'll do a pro forma analysis to make sure that that location can be profitable on its own. And they will say, we'll pay a premium for this specific location in this food court. But if they don't get that location, they walk. And so they're very, very serious when it comes to making sure that they bring on profitable locations. And so we saw through our study with on Vacasa and Aimbridge, a lot of their acquisitions came through M&A. And with M&A, you can bring on a lot of bad portfolio. And so that's where we saw things start to crumble. Steve, how are you curating your portfolio today?
I think a big part of what we've seen in the larger markets that have started to struggle or fail or churn out was, there was a mindset that any unit was a good unit. If you really go back to the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, even post-COVID, any unit would rent. And so it was really thought about any unit is a good property to have because it was driving profitability. But obviously today's market, the cost to rent, there's a floor that you have to have in order to be able to even just be profitable. Along with that, we see that demand hasn't necessarily shrank, but supply has outpaced it. So when you think about anything that's below the top 50th percentile, or yesterday we were having a discussion about what was even below the top 10 percentile of what inventory looks like, the demand on those properties is very, very different. So being able to build out a portfolio that's curated, that fits not only something that's profitable, but also what fits your brand, so that you have reputational integrity is important, especially in the age where we're seeing the OTAs come along, with the ratings being one of the main drivers of how you're now ranked in the OTAs. So by providing an uncurated or just a sloppy portfolio, those units who are dragging themselves down, they're not just dragging themselves down in the search rankings, they're dragging down your entire portfolio and your accounts rankings all together, right? So more than ever, a curated portfolio is key to being successful when you're building out a property management company that's going to be able to rent the units that deserve to be rented, deserve to be found in search, deserve to be found in rank. That's what we're doing a lot of now when you talk to our franchise owners who are buying these portfolios. While they're taking on entire geographic locations, they're looking at it property by property and deciding which properties stay and which properties go. I think that's going to be important to the future of at least how Casago moves forward and how we rebuild that brand and make sure that the portfolios that we offer have integrity of brand and are able to compete in the search engines and the OTA search engine algorithms. Because as we know, individual homeowners renting properties are ranking better when you do the searches in the queries. We're going to have to figure out how to compete with that by making sure that our brand, our franchisees and local operations are providing product and inventory that competes with them in the rankings. Otherwise, they're going to underperform.
Yeah. Yep. So the next, key pillar that we talked about, or that we uncovered, was around making sure that you are curating your portfolio around similar demand drivers, so guest demand drivers. So for example, we've seen successful vacation rental property managers like a Movie Mountains or a Bow Luxury Rentals that have gone into multiple ski markets, so different markets, but they're attracting the same consumer, right? These are wealthy individuals. They want locations near the ski mountain, and so they can market and attract them and service them in the same way, but in their different towns. And so really making sure that you're taking on properties that have similar demand drivers. So where we've seen people get in trouble is if they take on, more like economy level, small condos to mansions in one market, right? There's different demand drivers, different ways that you have to be marketing to your guests. Or if you expand to, you're in the beach and now you're doing mountain, right? There's just totally different demand drivers. The guest expectations are completely different. And so that's what we heard over and over again was, you really need to curate around these similar demand drivers. How do you look at this from a Casago perspective?
When you look at the entire country as a whole and the inventory that you're trying to market, the way and the time and even the expense in which you go after specific markets is very different than you go after an entire portfolio. To be able to build a brand or to be able to build marketing around the similar demand drivers takes breaking it back down to the local level. And there again, once you get past not just what you're looking at from which market's at, is this a hotel, is this a mountain, is this ski, is this is this beach, is this desert, is this urban? Those seem like the obvious ones, but when you think about similar demand drivers, who's coming and why, and what's their affordability, it becomes much more difficult to market low-end properties alongside of high-end properties, right? So we can go out and figure out how to segment and break up, beach versus mountain. That's not the hard part. The failures that were happening, when you look across the report that Ashley built out, was when you try to take low-end properties and put them next to high-end properties and put them within the same demand drivers, you end up with very different client base, reasons why people are coming, but also very different service levels of which you can or can't afford. So if you're trying to take your profitability within an organization and service low-end properties, thinking that you're also going to be able to provide that same service level to high-end properties and have satisfaction, it's just not going to happen, right? You're going to fail. And I think that's where you see a lot of failures happening, and that's why often you see hotels segment their brands out, throughout their different portfolios of what is their low-end brand, what is their high-end brand. And within vacation rentals, nobody's really hit the scale in which they can build any one real brand that's forward-facing, let alone try to build multiple brands that are forward-facing, commercial-facing, right? So getting to one brand where you say, okay, this is what we stand for, this is who we are, that's pretty darn hard in today's market, let alone trying to build 4 different brands for 4 different levels of service. And I think that's where the fails we've seen happen in the past. It's one of the reasons why when you look at something like a Remax or in the real estate world, why the franchise model seems to work, because we've seen Remax offices who are local and they build their reputation locally with the people there, as maybe they're the agent for luxury brands inside of Vail or inside of Scottsdale, or whatever that might look like, as opposed to another real estate agent at a completely different market who's found their own niche. That's why I tend to believe that breaking it down, cost it down into bite-sized elements, and then being able to allow the franchises take their own personality and bring it onto the portfolio that they're looking to build is a better system for what we're doing. So,
I have one thing to add on the service levels. What do you guys think is the #1 difference between an economy hotel and a luxury hotel? Any thoughts? Service. So it's the number of people in the lobby. So when you check into a Motel 6, there is one person behind the front desk to check you in. When you check into a Four Seasons, there are probably 8 to 11 people in the lobby. There is someone to open the door for you. There's someone to take your luggage. There's even someone to push the elevator button to you, right? A Motel 6 can't put in Frette or Sephora sheets and call it a luxury hotel. It really is primarily service. And so, in thinking about the demand drivers, as Steve was just mentioning, if you're trying to service economy level stays versus luxury, I mean, you have to, on the luxury end, we look at staff to property ratios, and you're looking at 1 to 4, 1 to 3 in some cases, because it just is such a high touch service that guest is expecting, versus in an economy where you could do 1 to every 15 properties or so. So,
really
yeah.
It's not the sheets and towels, huh?
Not the sheets and towels. Yep.
All right. Interesting.
Service is the biggest differentiator.
So, well, that actually kind of brings us to number 3 about those ratios.
Yep.
The third pillar was the limited number of owners. And I'm a big believer in this, but tell us what the report says and how it fits into that narrative.
Yeah. This was actually the most interesting finding I found in the report, one of them. And I don't think a lot of people talk about it, is, the number of owners can be the limiting factor for your ability to scale. We talked to a group called, I don't know if you guys have dined at a Pappas family restaurant, Pappasitas, Pappadeaux's, and they're based in Texas, but they've got restaurants in Texas and all over the Midwest. And they own and manage all their restaurants. And so an example was they got wind that there were some standard challenges with their restrooms in the Dallas market. And so the executive team traveled to Dallas, visited their 15 locations there, and confirmed, yes, they are subpar. And that following Monday, they made the decision to replace all of their general managers with their assistant general managers, sending a message to the entire organization that, if these standards aren't upheld, we will make changes. And they were able to do this very quickly and address these quality concerns because they owned and managed all of these restaurants. And so when you start bringing on so many different owners, it makes it much harder to make strategic changes for your businesses and to get them all aligned. And they have so many different needs. So we've talked to so many executives that talked about, we're traveling across the country trying to appease all these owners, and it was very distracting to, our business strategy and our overall organization. And so, the discussion continued to come around to, you have to be very careful with the owners that you're bringing on and limiting those numbers. How are you approaching this today, Steve?
Yeah, I always talk about that there's a couple decisions in life that will make your life either better or worse, and it's the spouse you pick, the pet that you pick,
True,
and the homeowners you bring into your portfolio. It will change your lives. dramatically. So all three of them will have either uplifting or devastating effects within your life. When you think about bringing, where we were with Vacasa, the just sheer number of homeowners to be able to service on an individual basis is the pain point that becomes near impossible to be able to control. And just to have messaging from a centralized corporate level about the needs, wants, desires, struggles, in market issues that are going on, local conversations, and even just being able to control the quality of general managers at so many different locations destroys the P&L in a lot of ways, because the amount of levels you have, the levels of management and mid-management that you have to have really creates a diseconomies of scale. And we're going to talk about a little bit diseconomies of scale later. But there is a point, it is a numbers game in vacation rentals. Everybody knows that. You can't just make a living with one homeowner and one property, right? Unless it's some sort of great property and you have a very low overhead. But that doesn't work. So there is a numbers game. There is a place, sweet spot where you have built a curated number of homeowners with properties that fit your product and providing value and profitability. And you're still able to have a relationship that transcends the business with your homeowners that allows them to not only meet their economic demands, but meet their emotional demands that they've just handed over one of the most valuable assets to you. Sometimes it can be a motivation that is something that they're emotionally attached to, and they're unlocking the unused value of their asset while they're away. Maybe they're not using it so much. Some of it might be the emotions of an investment, a large investment in which they watched too many TikTok videos during COVID and went out and bought a property, and now they're living too close to the belly, and they're deeply concerned about that. Or there just may be, the needs of making sure that they're good stewards of the entire community in which that they're a part of, and they want to make sure that the people that are coming there are not only treating their own property with respect, but also the community with respect, and how are they fitting into that, right? And then you also have the bad actors in which you're trying to figure out how to deal with as well. Once you get past your ability to maintain and curate your homeowners at a level in which you understand their individual needs, the entire ecosystem becomes unwieldy. Each and every individual homeowner doesn't care how many properties you have, beyond the fact that they want to make sure you have enough resources to be stable and provide the type of marketing and services that they need. They want to see that you have at least that type of scale. Anything past that has a zero value to that homeowner's wants and needs. In fact, it's actually a detractor to them within their mindset, right? Okay, you have enough of an inventory that you're stable. You're going to be there. You're not going to raid my trust account in the middle of the night and put us both in trouble. You have enough resources to have a marketing person that can come in and make sure that I'm ranking well in the OTAs, that you're out marketing my property, you're doing a good job. You have enough resources that you have somebody, you can afford somebody to come out and inspect the property, that you have the technology to help us manage it. Once you get past that level, every unit added onto that in their mind is a detractor. And at some point it physically becomes a detractor, because your ability to treat them as a one-on-one individual goes down dramatically, and your ability to contact them, reach out to them, and have real conversations with them, and provide the stability that you need for that relationship diminishes. So, there again, how we're trying to solve for it is break this down into chunk size, into bite-sized elements in which people who have a vested interest in making sure that the decisions are being made closer to that front door for the homeowner's best interest is being met, so that that one-on-one relationship ends up growing, because that's what happens with churn, right? You earning the right to fail with that homeowner through goodwill, through history, through trust. The pillars of trust is the number one way that you can drive down churn within your portfolio. There's other factors too. You're always going to have some churn. But one of the biggest fail points of Vacasa was this churn. When you have churn rates that are unsustainable, and you have to pay to replenish that inventory, it destroys your economic viability. And so, limiting the number of homeowners, making sure the homeowners are the right homeowners, and then treating them with respect and dignity, and building relationships with them is diminished once you reach, once you get past your own ability to do that, which leads us really into the next pillar, which is and the last pillar, no, next to last pillar, is locally oriented operations, not centralized, which they found was one of the main reasons and keys of why there was failures happening throughout all these different organizations.
Yeah. I mean, we just heard over and over again, you need to keep decision-making closest to the properties. And when you try to overly centralize, and you try to centralize functions like finance and guest services, where a guest is frustrated, they're in, call it Gatlinburg, Tennessee, but they're calling an office in Portland, and they're talking to someone that's not there locally, doesn't understand where they are. It can be super frustrating, and it can lead to a lot of churn on both the owner and the guest side. And Steve, you're doing so much to really take back the business and around local wins. Can you talk about what you're doing at Vacasa and CasaGo?
I think that when you think about these local-oriented operations, there's a gentleman in the room named Tim Smith. We call him Smitty. He just closed on his inventory from Vacasa yesterday, where he went from, a year ago, I think he was at about 60 to 80 properties. Now he's sitting around 250 properties. Churn has been reduced as we've started to take over Vacasa, just trying to have good conversations with homeowners, being owner-centric. But my true belief, and mark my words, that at next DARM, asking him what his churn rates are, as opposed to what they are today, what they've been historically in his markets that he's taken on, is going to be dramatically reduced, because Tim Smith isn't leaving New Smyrna. Tim Smith has an obligation to his teammates. Tim Smith has local operations in which he understands why you turn the lights off in New Smyrna, because there's a bunch of turtles that you don't want to disrupt at night. He understands, and I'm being tongue-in-cheek about it, but if you don't understand the local operations, you don't have somebody who has a vested interest in making sure it's successful and stabilization of that market, where you're not replacing general managers on an ongoing basis, which you can't build relationships within the organization with your homeowner, which are your product owners, you're going to fail. And when you try to centralize operations like picking up the phones and having a conversation about specific products with people they've never seen that product, never been in market, they may not have ever been in country, but moreover, you can't even get the hold of the same person to build a relationship with. It destroys trust, and it destroys your ability to operate in hospitality. That's great for software as a service. That's great for tech support when you're selling Dell computers. That's fine when you have Netflix and you can't figure out how to log on. You're not expecting relationships. But especially within vacation rentals, if you don't have a Tim Smith in market, you have nobody to go to hold accountable, not only individual as homeowners, but as a community. When Tim Smith walks down the hallways, he's not only seeing his own homeowners, but he's also seeing his neighbors, and they're going to hold him accountable, and they're going to wag their finger in his face if they don't like something, and he's got to deal with that. that makes different decisions than if you're sitting in some 10-story building in 10 states away, making decisions without understanding how it's impacting your neighbors. And those neighbors are probably the second most valuable gatekeepers within your market to pick up new inventory. The first ones are probably the realtors, truthfully. The second gatekeepers are probably your neighbors. And if your neighbors are out bad-mouthing the snot out of you because you deserve it, you're not going to get the referrals you need to be able to build an inventory. They're also going to poison the homeowners you already have, right? Because they all talk. So local operations where you do have the economies of scale is one of the reasons why you watch a lot of the smaller property managers build profitable businesses, and it's small to medium, build profitable businesses that are successful, have a good reputation, and last for generations. Tim Cafferty is a multi-generation, property management owner. He's built not only what he inherited from and took on from his family, but he also has gone out and done it again on his own. Why? Because he's invested in the community. They know who he is. He cares about his community, and he understands how to do local operations. And he's still here, from when he was a young man as a sportscaster to now not as young man. What? No. But why is he successful and Vacasa wasn't when they certainly had more money than he did, as far as I know? Well, because local operations, and that's really the key driver of this fourth pillar, which I don't think you can actually do the last pillar without local oriented operations.
Absolutely.
Is empowered local hospitality professionals. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, what we heard over and over again was you hire people that have that hospitality gene, right? These are people that guests and owners could be yelling at them all day long and they still have a smile on their face. They're still trying to make for a successful experience. And so when you start to try to centralize operations and whatnot, these people stop thinking about what's best for the owner or the guest, and they start thinking, well, will corporate, approve this? And, then corporate comes back and says, well, that's not the way we do things at Aimbridge or at Vacasa. And they get very disempowered, they get very upset, and they end up leaving because they want to go to a place where they feel empowered. And so what we saw at places like Vacasa and like Aimbridge, where there was this massive brain drain of people leaving these organizations to go somewhere else where they can provide a great hospitality experience and feel empowered. So we found that this is obviously critical to a successful operations, is ensuring that your people feel empowered.
Yeah. So there's not just one way to do this, and I'm going to share my way I've done it, but I've also seen people taking this on from very different angles. And I think what's important is I'm sitting up here talking about, how Vacasa going to Casago is solving these problems. It's not the only way to solve these problems. We're going to find a few different models that are going to work to varying degrees in different environments with good leadership. We're going to find successes in this next generation of leadership that's going on. It's important to understand that there's not only one way to do this, but when it comes to local empowerment, I've seen, back to Tim Cafferty, he has a really interesting way of financially incentivizing his team through a egregious amount of financial transparency, in which everybody can see pretty much every single penny that's being spent, and then they're incentivized upon that. We see other different ways of sticks and carrots. The way that we've taken this on from the Casago point of view was early on within my journey. I started when I was 28. At the time that this story happened, I was about 29, maybe 30. I came out of Ranger Battalion. I had taken over a small property management company. The first time that we ever had a situation where the fish caught the whale was in Puerto Penasco. I think it was up to about 60 units. A company that had 300 properties failed on the day that Saddam Hussein was captured, and the HOAs called me because I was the next guy. I was kind of the only guy next in line. They called us up and asked if we could help. Took over 3 front desks, and didn't even have enough employees to take on all front 3 desks. Within that, we started hiring like crazy and wasn't able to really speak into the teammates about what was hospitality, what was our vision, what was the clarity of why we exist, why are we different, why was Rocky Point Management failing, why were we succeeding, and we started making some pretty terrible mistakes, and it was ugly. And I had one of our homeowners who had been a loyal fan of ours come into that office and let me have it good. And she was about 5 foot tall, but she felt like 7 foot tall by the time she walked out of there because she let me have it. And she walked out, and I turned around. I was like, no, there's got to be a mistake. We would never do that. Turned around to the team like, what happened? They're like, of course we did that. I'm like, why? You know, they thought they were protecting the company through misguided, decision making, and without the integrity of having a cohesive organization in which I could communicate with everybody. We were going to fail the same way they did. So, I bought a 6-pack of beer and walked down to the beach and was feeling pretty sorry for myself, wondering if I was over my ski tips, which I was, and I was wondering why could I lead a small team of Army Rangers in a foreign country with weapons and be successful, and I was failing at property management in Mexico, which didn't seem nearly as dangerous. I realized that the founders of every special operations unit that's in existence today had a creed they put together, a reason why they existed, a charter. And so that night I took out the Ranger Creed. We talked about it every single day at Ranger Battalion. We get up every morning, we repeat it. You were kicked out of it, out of Ranger Battalion. If you didn't follow the creed, you were promoted for following it. It was a charter, and it was an interpretation of what we decided how to live our lives. And so I put together the first form of what we called the Orange Credo. It was basically what I called at the time was just a bunch of values. But what they actually were, as I understand it better now, is they were a bunch of principles that were there to honor, the values that I was trying to espouse with the organization. What I understand from that, going forward was, one, everybody thought it was incredibly stupid when I did it, and said it was, and we actually had people quit because of it, which is a good thing. But they were simple rules that help us make complex decisions outside the oversight of direct leadership, in which locally empowered hospitality professionals could make decisions on their own without having to go run up to the boss every single time, because the truth is they're never going to. You have everybody here who's an operator right now has probably 1,000 decisions being made every 30 seconds in their name. Whether they're going to clean something a little extra, or they're going to check the plates, the third plate down, to make sure it's not dirty because it's sitting in the cupboard, or whether they're going to talk to a homeowner with dignity and respect and compassion, or they're going to tell them it's not their problem, right? These are all happening in the minds of all of our teammates, and it's happening at every single minute of the day. So being able to build a culture and a North Star in which people can make decisions on their own, without the oversight of leadership, is how we went about trying to build an organization that would build a brand where the internal reality ended up becoming the external perception. When those people are making, I will say that when you find the right people, give them clarity, and explain to them what a good decision is, and then hold them accountable and talk about it every single day, which we do in our Orange meetings. Over time, it doesn't happen. It's not a magic bullet. It doesn't happen right away. You can't just write it, put it up on a wall. If you keep having those discussions over time, you build a tribe of people who are true believers. The people who don't align will self-select out, and you'll end up building people who can make decisions that are empowered within the organization. It takes time, and it's imperfect. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you need the North Star more than they do, because you've got decisions in which you're also a human and going to make mistakes on. But that's how when you build that sort of trust with your team, that's within this environment, that's how you do it. That's how we've done it. If you don't have the ability to put your local teams in power of the decisions within this scope of business, you will fail. And how you go about that is certainly up to you, but that's how we've done it.
I worked at the Home Depot, and we had a Home Depot cheer we would do every morning, and we had the values that were the orange values at the Home Depot, and that's a $250 billion organization, and that's how they got all of their employees.
They have orange values?
They've got orange values too. I know.
You have to call those guys.
Exactly, right? But that's how they got everyone aligned, and they had a similar culture and similar values, and people knew how to make good decisions with these values. So I love it. Quickly before we end, we just wanted to talk about some of the findings we found around economies of scale. We found that in hospitality, there's actually diseconomies of scale, not economies of scale. When we did our study, we looked at two different companies. We looked at a company called Ball Corp, which is the largest producer of aluminum cans in the world. So one manufacturing line can produce up to 1 billion cans. And then we contrasted that with a couple of different hospitality companies. But if we look at economies of scale, you would expect to see economies of scale when it comes to labor. And so an example is Ball Corp, right? So they produce up to 1 billion cans in that one manufacturing line, and that one manufacturing line only needs about 18 people to run it. So whether you produce 100,000 cans a year or 1 billion, there's 18 people. So as you produce more, your unit economics get better, right? Your unit costs go down. We contrasted that with a study on the Forney Independent School, which is one of the fastest growing school districts outside of Dallas. In 2013, there were just under 9,000 students enrolled, and in 2025, there's now about 19,000 students. So it's grown significantly. But we found that as the student population grew, the staff population grew at a faster rate. Because as you want to keep your student to teacher ratios, right, of like 1 to 20, well now as you hire more teachers, you need more managers, and you need to invest in more programs like special ed or arts or whatnot, and so you just require more people as your school builds. And we see similar parallels in the hospitality industry as well. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing?
I think a good example of this in parallel, if you think of Netflix, where every time somebody signs up for an account, they don't have to go hire somebody new to do this, as opposed to the U.S. government, who has to hire 5 people every time there's something new that comes about, right? So it happens the same within our industry. When you think about software as a service, when you think about manufacturing, the scales economy fit right in line with that. Now, there's our economies of scale when it comes to the number of units you have within your portfolio, and making sure that you understand the difference between where are those scales of economy as opposed to the diseconomies of scale. When you look at large organizations, you start to see that labor costs per unit start to go up dramatically, and you start to have middle management, because as you start to grow multiple cities, it doesn't become twice as hard to go to a second city. I would say it's quadratically more difficult. It's actually a multiplier, and as I was thinking about this, I was digging around on the internet, and it hit me that somebody had said there that growing is addition, scaling is multiplication, right? And if you really think about that, that's an interesting way of rethinking about scale. If I just keep adding units, but I'm continuing to add more labor, continuing to add more layers of layer and management, because I have to now have a larger HR department. I have to have extra HR helpers. I have to have extra middle management to be able to manage divisions and regions. Your cost of labor per unit goes up as you build that out, as opposed to scale, where if you can continue to grow your portfolio and your revenue off that portfolio in a way that creates a multiplier, where you can only, where when you hit a certain number, you're not continually to have to grow that out, to grow out your labor costs, is the only way you're ever going to be able to multiply this. And in service, you're always going to have that issue. So the question is making sure you break out where the economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. And if you get those conflated, you're going to fail as an organization, because you're going to start to have the struggles of both in hospitality and service, but also within your profit and loss statements. And our CFO is here, Anand Nampali, which I always get his name wrong, but I have a struggle with it. But one of the most brilliant financial minds I've ever got to meet. But he talks a lot about the diseconomies of labor and making sure that we keep a lean organization that's running, in which we can, as we go through a transition of going from a very large organization to a very asset-light organization, ensuring that financial discipline and transitional costs are held in place so that we have a sustainable and responsible financial future for all stakeholders. And I think that's important because when you watch what has happened at the CASA, they couldn't just keep raising more money, which I guess they could, they did. But they started stacking on a lot of fees because they had to survive. And why did they need those fees? Because they had a massive infrastructure that they couldn't support, right? And so going to asset light, making sure that you're building a team that multiplies, that doesn't create just addition, is really going to be the key to success of a scaled organization.
Yeah, and we saw that with bulk purchasing. With Ball Corp, they can get a lot of cost savings, right? 55% of their costs come in the materials. So if they're able to negotiate better costs, it can have a really good impact on their bottom line. Whereas in hospitality, over 50% of your cost is in labor. And as you get bigger, people expect to be paid more, they expect better benefits, and so you just see the costs rise there.
Yeah.
So.
You imagine if Ball Corp had to hire an extra person per 10,000 units that
Yep.
they produce, it would bankrupt them.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So really interesting findings here. Any questions from I know we're a little over, but any questions from the audience?
This all just makes me think about the opportunity for economy homes in the industry, because we're all focused on having the profitable homes, but there are always going to be a huge number of owners out there that either don't want to self-manage, but they're not trying to maximize their profit for their home either. And there's also going to be a ton of guests out there that are not wealthy, that are looking for economy places to stay. What happens to those homes? Is there an opportunity for somebody to focus just on economy and possibly build out a model that only services economy homes? And is Costco the CASA thinking maybe something like that in the future, of being able to separate economy homes from high-end homes, brand-wise?
Yeah, I don't. It's a good question. I don't think you have to be a luxury brand to be profitable. I think you have to provide great value for what you're offering. And the truth is, luxury today isn't necessarily about being opulent. It's about being seen. It's about when expectations are less than perception. And so there is a floor in which the cost to rent matters. You can't go to an economic model in which, just because there's a demand for it, that is below your operational cost to provide that service. But when you do have an opportunity there, I think we will see franchise partners who will be in specific markets that are very blue-collar markets. In fact, to be honest with you, Costco got started in Mexico, and Rocky Point is a drive-to destination, which is really a blue-collar destination. It's much less expensive than San Diego. That's why people go there, right? Now I have homes. I have beachfront studios there that rent for $100 a night still. There's not a lot of profit in that, but we're able to scale that over time. So that's my model there. But then if you look at our Santa Barbara office, our average reservation is $54,000, $57,000. So being able to have that diversity of who are you and what do you represent under the flag is going to be important.
Yeah, only 3% of hotels are actually luxury hotels. So the consumer really does demand most of the demands in mid-scale and upscale hotels. And the most unprofitable hotels are actually the luxury hotels, because it requires a lot of labor. So the most profitable are in that. I think where we have an opportunity as an industry is to create that quality framework that's missing, that exists in every other hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, and so that we have very clear, we're clearly communicating what we're delivering to the guest, and the guest knows what they're paying for at the end of the day. Some guests want that economy experience. You don't always want to be in a luxury hotel stay.
I think whichever segment you're in, be in the top portion of that segment, right? Like if you're going to be in economy, be the very best economy. Make your people, it doesn't cost anything to let people be seen and heard. Be the very best. Make it novel and interesting for people to go, because they'll probably appreciate it a lot more because they don't often get that.
Amber.
Shameless plug. Tomorrow afternoon, the last day in here, we'll be talking to Nir Myman, Rachel and Rob all day, and Robin Cragen about what constitutes luxury in STR.
Amazing.
A lot of our pre-conversations sound like what you're talking about, Steve. So
Yeah.
we'll be backing you up.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you. Take care. Thank you. That was great.
I'm going to be late for this.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Oh, you got to take a picture.
Well done. How are you, Ashley?
Good to see you.
I love the materials that you're putting out at the
Oh,
moment.
thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And
Yeah.
you're always super fast, even on Sonder. And
Yeah, we got some good stuff coming out this summer.
Oh, really?
More research on it, yeah. So
That's pretty
yeah,
hefty.
yeah. It's crazy. So yeah. So it's all good, yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks so
We'll
much.
see you around.
Good to see you. I will for sure. I would love to just meet with you.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of parallel.
Do we
Yeah,
just
I know.
have two?
So I'm here tomorrow
Yeah.
as well.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah.
just,
That'd be great.
I'm
Yeah.
going to need to
Yes.
go to, just ping me and then we'll catch up.
Three.
Okay.
Are they pretty sensitive?
They are.
Nice.
You can set them right on the table right here.
Wonderful.
This is what I've been doing. To set
You
them
were?
right.
Orange also for my first job.
Okay, so I used to work
Amazing.
at the
Thank
company
you.
store, which is owned by the
I
Home
think
Depot.
he
So I was
actually turned
I was
this
based in
off
New Jersey, but
when he had it on him.
down in Atlanta
And I
every
still, I
month.
guarantee you.
So-
I had one really come
Yeah.
from Bowler.
They're good.
He built
Okay.
8 stores. And
I'm just gonna leave them
we had 4
right
stores
here.
that had 8 and they bought us. So
Yeah.
I started when there was only 12 stores.
Right.
in Home Depot.
Oh,
Served for
wow.
7 years. I
You
went to all the
must-
markets and opened them all
Yeah.
up. I opened
Yeah.
like 400 stores.
Yeah.
So I was back in the early days.
Yeah, that's
My
so
boss
neat.
was Arthur Blank. So
I mean, I
way
could,
back in the
as a
day.
merchant, I'm a lifelong merchant,
Yeah,
I would,
me too.
um,
I was 30 years in retail.
yeah.
So.
But it was fun
Did you
to have
read,
all the family
Family
together
Guy?
because
I
usually
did.
we're all
Oh my
like
gosh,
kind
I-
of
Well,
getting married,
traveled
so
with
it
him.
was good.
I
So
did.
they had all the
That
mom
must have
friends
been
Crazy when
so
investors came in and stuff we did.
there, so
We used to put empty boxes up in the racks and change the piece on the outside so it looked like
Seriously.
a ton of inventory.
Yeah, good to see you.
Oh, good to meet a fellow.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can catch up again.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Hi. Good to see you. I wanted to be in here, but I had to go cover other things.
I'm gonna go cover my baby, but.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I walked past it. I was like, oh wait, she's downstairs.
Yeah, I know. It's one man show.
Yeah.
So, good to see you. I'll
Good
catch
to
up
see
with you
you.
later.
Okay.
Right now, we used to, right now we see.
So are you here for the ESOP or for the UPREIT?
For what?
For the ESOP or the UPREIT conversation? Am I in the right room? I think this is right.
I'm not sure. We're just finishing
Is
the
that
last
Fireside
one.
chat?
So.
Fireside chat. It's with Meredith and Bill.
Jody. Jody. I'm
It
wrong.
got switched. That's tomorrow afternoon. Come back.
Okay.
Yeah, she had to switch because she had something, and then Meredith had to go, so we had to switch. Is it not updated in the app? Damn it.
Well, let me check. Let me just triple check before I tell you that. Then my phone goes into SOS mode down here too in the basement.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to. I've got to figure out how to get on the internet so I get to my questions. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, you're Amber.
Hi.
I'm Meredith.
Correct,
I'm the other
Meredith.
So understandable. I am never with another Meredith ever.
Yeah, well, I think the only thing that I didn't go back to look, but I'm like, well, maybe you were listed as Wells Fargo, and I went
Yeah.
straight to your world, and I was
100%.
like, oh, Meredith must be the wrong last name.
Because there are 0 chances there would be 2 of them.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
I know.
That was really funny.
And then I went and I looked at your LinkedIn, and I was like, something's not right here. And then I found your email. Let me go see if I can get internet,
Okay.
because otherwise, I might not.
Oh, is there like hotel Wi-Fi down here, maybe?
There is, but I don't know why this is picking up, but it wasn't earlier. I've got
They
it.
didn't update it, just so you know.
Okay, thank you. We might. Are we live?
Do you want me to end it real quick? It'll take me a second to put it back up, but do you want me to end it real quick?
No, it's fine.
A lot of this, like this part, I'm gonna edit out later.
Sure.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you edit out my stumbles.
Yeah, make us look good, dude. Come on.
The guy
You
before
both
said
can
the same
fly,
thing, but
no
you did-
problem.
You did well. I believe in y'all. I think you'll do well.
Yeah, let's see here. They didn't tell us that there was no internet in the dungeon.
It's,
Yeah, that's funny because you would think they would make sure there was a little, you know,
I can
I
get
don't
on
know,
the way.
flying saucer down here. I don't know what
Receiver or something, right?
I'm trying to think if I can remember.
I've got it.
the
It's
Wi-Fi's around here.
Next Packs and Next Packs.
Yes, 25.
Oh, 25.
Or is it for the
Excellent.
passcode?
Uh huh.
Yeah. Next packs and then next packs 25, I think it is. I'm on a whole different one though, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to live stream.
I got this. No hotel internet's taking me down.
So I was telling her those mics are right there next to her.
Okay, right
You
here.
just leave them right there and it'll pick up y'all fine.
Okay.
Yes, I
Hey,
didn't
Sue.
realize this is all being
Good.
live streamed. Are there people who registered to attend remotely?
So there's been people who viewing it. I had
Okay.
like 7 or 8 people watching it on the last one.
Cool.
So there's people who are watching, and then we're gonna edit it later and.
And post it or something? Cool. You know what? I've got your email, the original one, if you want.
You know what?
Let me see if I can find. Because I know you attached.
I wonder if it'll let me have my room one. It's just this password's not working.
Hold on. Let's see if I can get it on my phone.
Where did you go? There we go. The only thing is we'll have to hop in to talk about.
Because here's your one with the updated, highlighted stuff.
Oh.
Because you sent it as a Google Doc.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't open in Wells Fargo, so I forwarded it to my personal email.
Wonderful.
So I've got your whole thing, my
You're the
love.
best.
And we're done.
All right. Problem
Make sure
solved.
it's the
Look at
same
that.
one I got.
I sent a
should
link.
be
That was this morning.
The one where she said click here? The word here?
I'm not sure. Is that the first question?
Let me see.
Yeah.
Amber,
Yeah.
Jody's doing this with you, right?
Jody is, we swapped.
Oh, you swapped.
Bill and Meredith are today, and then where Bill and Meredith were tomorrow is going to be Jody.
So
Do you
she's
want to
not
be in the
doing
middle?
it. So then she's doing it tomorrow. Oh, okay. So this is the one, but she's not
I'm comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
We can give people a few minutes to find it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the app
They're
didn't
gonna think
update,
it's
so it's all right.
Oh, the app didn't update. Well, it was kind of last minute. Yeah, they were
It's okay.
Oh.
Yay!
Wait, you know what? So. How did it? Why is it not showing it? Here, you
got
know
it.
what? And
I got
here's-
it.
Okay, I was gonna say I got it on my
Yay!
iPad. You're so smart.
Look at us go. All right. More people might be joining us, and welcome on the interwebs. We are here for Beyond the Sale Financial and Structural Planning for Property Management Owners curious about exiting, which might not sound like the sexiest topic in the world, but I assure you, when you are ready to be done with the business side of things, this is going to sound really sexy to you, but you have to get ahead of it. So we are here with Bill Wichard and Meredith Fiocchi, and we're going to talk about what property management owners should be thinking about long before they ever want to sit at a closing table. So I have these two wonderful, very accomplished people with me, and I'd love to tell you about them. So my friend Bill Wichard is the managing partner at Richard Woolard and Mitchell Wealth Management. It's very well-known friends to the industry. I'm not sure there's many people who don't know who you are. Bill has spent more than 3 decades working with business owners on the front end of major transitions. He is the person you call when your situation is complicated and you want someone who will actually sit with you, ask the right questions, like listen and build a plan that fits your life, not a template. And he's had a long, successful, award-winning career, which is why he now owns his own firm in Edenton, North Carolina.
Yep.
He's rooted in service. I can attest to that. He gives back to his community and our industry. And when he's not working, he's usually outside somewhere with his family trying to finish the Appalachian Trail. We'll sidebar on that over some Tito's. And then next, my new friend, Meredith Fiocchi, Associate Vice President with the ESOP Group at Wells Fargo, which... not to fluff your skirt, but you're kind of a big deal in this world. She is. Meredith started her career in brokerage and futures trading, and today she's one of the most respected educators in the country on ESOP transactions, and I don't do hyperbole. I mean that with all sincerity. She helps owners understand when an ESOP is the right path and when it is not, and she stays with clients through the entire process, helping structure also 1042 portfolios and qualified replacement property. Meredith served as the president of the Illinois chapter of the ESOP Association and now sits on the National Advisory Committee for Ownership Culture. Together, they bring the financial structure and human side, which we so do love in hospitality, all of those sides of existing business. I think this is going to be extremely helpful and practical, useful. So welcome to our live stream, Bill and Meredith.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, well, let's kick things off. So these are conversations that, of course, I've had with you, I've had with other members on your team, and also with some of my clients and friends who are property managers. And there's a lot going on in the industry right now. So much. And a lot of people are considering exiting. They're at that stage where they don't want to deal with everything. And then there's a new way of operators coming in. So strictly from a financial perspective, not feelings or, legacy or anything like that. What shifts are you seeing in how homeowners, or business owners, I should say, are thinking about the future, property management owners?
Yeah, I think it's like any business that you own. You need to build a great team. And I think new owners, it's more important than ever that you do so. You focus on culture. I think the new owners are going to have to embrace AI. We just came from a conference in Vegas at the Forbes Shook Conference, and we went to a breakout session on AI, and my partner and I said, if we don't embrace this, we're going to be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so spending the money up front to embrace AI, but also taking care of your team members. I mean, culture, sharing the profitability of the business, putting in a profit sharing plan. If you think about it, if you have a great year and your employees participate in that, they're going to be even better employees. And it's ultimately about, building a team that puts you in front of the lead, taking care of your customers. And the best way to do that is to have happy employees.
And I just want to look straight into the camera and reiterate what he said, that I said, what, no feelings, financially, what is the best path? And he said, take care of your team. Culture came first.
Yep.
You heard it right here from the financial expert. So what about operators who think they're too small, maybe they're too early to start planning for succession? When is the appropriate time to start thinking about, I need to take action towards my exit?
Well, there's a famous saying, build it like you're going to sell it tomorrow, even if you want to keep it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you take that approach, you build great culture, you reward your team members. But in the line of, if you want to sell your company, the sooner you start planning, the better, because you have to know your number, right? If you don't know your number, then when are you going to pull the trigger?
How do you get to your number?
You have your company valued, but you also do a financial plan.
Mm.
So a lot of people say, well, I'm going to sell my company one day, but they don't understand what the other side of the sale looks like. Where if you know your number, hey, I want to maintain my standard of living exactly as it is today. Well, you plug that number to the financial plan, and the financial plan is not emotional. It's either going to say, you got a problem, or you're on track. Or it may tell you you're better than on track, which says, hey, there's there are other planning opportunities that I can do, maybe some charitable strategies that you can incorporate into the plan. So really, the sooner you start planning, the better. And having a financial plan, a lot of people, that word kind of scares them.
Especially in this industry, because we are some cowboys and cowgirls. Like, wait a second, you're going to hold me down to a plan?
Exactly. But, it really is liberating, because when you know what you need,
yeah,
and you have your business valued on a regular basis, then you'll know that, hey, if I'm ready, I can pull the trigger.
So I have people that I've spoken to that I know well, that I don't know well, that just, talk, and they're looking now at, I don't think I want to do this for forever, but I don't know what to do. And they might have even just a 3 or a 5 year runway. Is that enough time to get your ducks in a row to make a wise decision and come out on top the way that you want to be?
I think so. We prefer 5 years.
Okay.
Because there are moves you can make. A lot of times you need, a growth advisor to basically, because your number isn't where it needs to be. And you need to stop living off the business.
Yeah.
Right? Which this industry is famous for.
Loves.
Yeah. And there are a lot of reasons you do that, I understand. But, when you go to sell the business, though, you've got to make it as attractive to the...
Not a lifestyle business.
Not a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
As attractive to the new buyer as possible, and that's how you're going to maximize your value. So the sooner you start planning, I like the saying, without a map, any road will get you there, but you might not like where you end up.
I love that.
Yep.
So good. Meredith, you are an expert on something that I love, and I've been a part of the planning and making sure that we're raising up the leaders to be able to handle what's about to happen next, and all the processes are put in place, and everything's spinning like a top. ESOP. Okay, so first of all, what is ESOP?
So an ESOP is an employee stock ownership plan. And it is a broad-based qualified plan. If people think of it, it sits under that ERISA umbrella like a 401k plan would.
Okay.
It is a passive economic investor. That means people who own the business inside that trust don't have any power. They're not going to boss around and demand to see the books. They can't tell you what kind of company car to drive. So I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding there sometimes out in the world where they say, well, I don't want to do an ESOP. I don't want everybody thinking they're in charge. They're not in charge at all. It's just the opportunity to own the business where you're working every day and you're contributing to the success every day. So that's what it is in a nutshell. It's just a qualified plan.
And so who is this a good fit for, and who should avoid this?
Great questions. So, and I actually have conversation starters to help business owners think about, all right, is it viable yet? Could it be viable one day? An ESOP, to be properly structured, you're going to have several people sitting at the table. The cool thing is that you're creating a buyer who doesn't exist today, and you get to design who that buyer is. That's super different. We all know what it is to have somebody come knock on the door, and that's who you get. And maybe it's great, and maybe it's not, and maybe it seems great, but later it's not, all the stuff. This is a way to design your buyer, but it requires a few extra people around the table. So that means it's going to cost a little something to properly execute.
Yeah.
Is it super expensive? No. It's cheaper than hiring a business broker and trying to go out in the world and find a buyer of the business, but it's typically going to cost you a couple $100,000. So if a company's value is below, I like to say somewhere around 10 million, they might want to think about, should we keep growing another couple years before we're really ready to embrace this as a strategy?
So lower middle market isn't quite ready. I mean, I guess the top of lower middle is
yeah,
where
it's
you
like,
are.
right.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of the transactions that we work on, the enterprise value is going to be between like 10 and 100 million.
Okay.
I know that's a huge range. It's applicable to almost every industry. So it's just a matter of more the fit with the people. If you have a company where the wealth and the jobs were created in your community and you want to keep them there, that's a real big green light. But I would say back of the envelope, the company should be worth about 10 or more. If you don't know what it's worth, that's okay. We have people who can help you have that conversation, and that's not expensive at all to do.
Right.
And also because it's supposed to be broad-based, you need to have I would say at least 20 or so eligible employees. So people who are over 21 years old working 1,000 hours a year. It's not a big hurdle,
Okay.
but it's something to keep in mind.
Okay, I love this. And I love this for our industry because so many, like, we're so people-y, you know what I mean? And we love our communities, and we do care about who's going to be stewarding this thing that we created, or maybe we bought, or, you know, whatever. As a property manager, I'm speaking on behalf of property managers when I say we, but to think of, like, just passing that down to people who already get it, to the people that you know are going to take care of your community. Like, this is where I see this just being flying colors in vacation rental. But there's also a lot of misconceptions, and I think you probably touched on it a little bit when we were talking about, like, who's a fit. But what are the biggest misconceptions that you hear?
Okay, so I would say, and actually in our brochure, we have a whole little section called Aesop Fables, because we thought we were clever. We came
so
up with
cute.
that. We were so tired of CPAs and lawyers and people that don't work in our world spouting false information to the client, and then we're like digging out of a hole, like, nope, that's not ever correct, like, not even sometimes, maybe.
That never happens in real estate. What are you talking
my
about?
Goodness. It's a tough go sometimes. So it's why I always say, you want to do ESOP 101, invite the team.
Yeah.
And you come, and who's the first person you're going to call after our meeting?
Oh, good.
Who's your trusted advisor, your CPA, CFO, somebody in your orbit who probably doesn't know about this?
Yes.
Let's invite them to the call.
Yeah.
Let's all learn together, so I'm not digging out of a hole later.
Yeah.
But I would say misconception-wise, number one, they think everybody's going to be in charge, right? Number two, they think, well, I'm not going to get that much money for my company then, and ESOP's going to give me a real discounted value. That's not true. This is not like valuing a company for estate planning. This is going to be a totally solid fair market value determination. We have seen several transactions in the last couple of years where an outsider offered close to the same amount of money. We've also seen where an outsider offered more, but there are huge tax benefits we can touch on later that can make the net dollars to the business seller the same with an ESOP, and I think that's a misconception. And I would say the third one is very culture-based. I've had a lot of people say, look, I got guys punching a clock on the shop floor, and they're never going to understand this. And I'm like, that's wrong.
Right.
I am an ownership culture. Anybody can understand they own where they work. And I could share several different stories of companies where you did have people in the convenience store at the gas station who understand it, and cashiers at the grocery store.
The janitors who say, I'm going to clean this bathroom the very best because I own this company.
That's right.
That's a different level
It's a
of discretionary
different level.
effort.
Absolutely. And I know I can use this trash can 3 more times with a real nice liner in it because we don't need to replace them as fast as we have been, and that saves our company money every year. I hear examples of that probably every month or two. We hear yet another story that everybody got it.
Okay, so we have everybody at the table, and the first person they call, maybe the second person they call, what are you telling them? Like, these are the absolute musts for this to be a viable option for you. Just brass tacks.
So assuming that the size and the number of employees makes sense, some of the things that you need to think about are, what is your succession plan? The beauty of an ESOP is that because the selling shareholder is customizing their buyer, they could sell as little as 30% of the business to an ESOP trust. They still own 70%. They're still in charge and going to work every day and being the boss and driving the bus. But even with a partial sale, we will start to ask what Bill was referring to. When you want to get in the back of the bus or step off of the bus, who is driving the bus?
Yeah.
Because when it's 100% owned, I get this question all the time. What if the ESOP owns all of the shares and you're saying it's not in charge? Who decides when we're going to buy stuff?
Yes.
Who decides if we want to sell it? Who decides what everybody's going to
Let
make
go
for
an
compensation?
employee who might also be an owner?
Yeah, how do we let go? This is the management team and the board of directors, and if you don't have a board now, you will. Could be 3 or 5 people, but it's a perfect time. That, to me, is how you know if it might be ready, because an ESOP is going to be like any other buyer, and they're going to want to understand, is this company going to be healthy after the sale? So that, to me, it's the succession planning piece that becomes probably one of the bigger conversations. And the other one is probably financials. Typically, to get a leverage transaction to go, the company itself is going to need to take out a loan from a bank. Again, if it's a 30% sale, you're taking out a smaller amount of debt. But if you have a company that uses a ton of debt for operations, we talked to a great freight company in the Midwest a couple years ago. They had the best culture, but they were super highly leveraged. And we did a feasibility study with them and kind of said, if you did a leverage transaction, you might not have enough bank capital left to lease your next truck. And that would never be our intention, is to distress the business itself.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff that to me are the important things to kind of vet.
Got a curveball question
Real
for you.
quick though,
Yeah,
I've
go
got
ahead.
another misconception. I think that once you do an ESOP, people think you're done. You're not going to grow anymore.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
You
know,
hear that?
ESOPs
Sure.
can buy other ESOPs. They can buy other companies. They can
Yes.
keep growing.
ESOP
So-
holding companies have become very popular.
That's kinda
something
sexy.
in my ESOP
Yeah.
world. To me, that's super interesting because it's different. And holding companies can be several businesses in one industry, or it could be a myriad of different.
Like a
just
roll-up of ESOPs?
Yep.
Exactly, like an ESOP, like any other holding company.
Get
Thanks for bringing that
out.
up, Bill. He is spot on. Yeah, and we see that all the time. That's why I always say the number of individual ESOPs out there doesn't grow as quickly as the number of employee owners. There's over 10 million. It's bigger than the UAW.
Wild.
But it's growing from within, yeah.
And I think it also, if you do a partial ESOP and you sell it, you don't have to sell it to another ESOP. You can sell it to another, outside buyer.
Yep.
But the culture, it makes it a little bit more attractive to an outside buyer as well.
Yeah.
So give the statistics on ESOP-owned companies.
Well, I mean, the exact numbers are in this brochure right here. But I can tell you that profit margins are higher. Retention numbers are higher. The ability to recruit top talent is higher. Every single metric. And we also know it's over 90% of business owners regret the way they sold their company 2 hours after they sold it. And that
Especially in
number,
these small communities.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But the number, if they sold to the ESOP, it's like less than 20%.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely different experience. And they can choose to just stop in once a quarter, or keep coming in, packing their lunch and going in every day, or anything in between. And they can change it. They're talking to their management team. Next year I think I'm only gonna come in 20 hours a week. Okay. As long as we have you as a sounding board, no problem. It's just that ability to have that control over the outcome.
Yeah. I love
Meredith has just helped us close a large ESOP, and it's kind of exciting because the employees are super excited. And the HR people are putting employee-owned company on all the trucks.
I love that.
It's critical. That's
Yeah.
why I got-
Imagine who they're
Yeah.
attracting.
Yeah, and they're coming out with T-shirts. So the whole community, we're a small community, but as far as hiring quality people,
Yeah.
I mean they've taken a major step forward.
Yeah.
And in a small
Especially
town,
when
it's
you
hard
have a
to
little
find good
talent
people.
puddle,
That's
like
right,
because
that's right.
OBX has a lot of need and maybe not a lot of like frontline type of people who live like in the same area, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's talk about the other side of things. So I remember it was around Trover, you would know this, 2020, 2021, when like we started seeing family offices start circling, and then like big private equities started not just talking to the tech teams, not just the suppliers, but they started really getting interested in the actual property management companies. So on the flip side, let's just say somebody's like, okay, ESOP's not for me for whatever reason they have. We want to either sell to a strategic buyer or private equity. So what should they be doing now to maximize their valuation to be prepared to sell like in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, we kind of covered this earlier, but
Same.
stop living off the business, get your numbers in order, hire great people, get great culture, but knowing that you're going to sell in the future, there are a lot of tax strategies that people don't. I mean, you can go ahead and give part of the ownership of your stock to a family trust and get a lack of marketability discount up to 30%. If you've got a lot of wealth in your family, you can give, if you have charitable intent, you can get some stock before the sale to a charitable trust. And, so once you know
Offset
your
your
number,
tax
there's a
burden.
lot of different tax strategies that you can put in place that makes the sale go even more lucrative. We like saying it's not what you get, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Right?
Yeah. And if there's a way to keep it and not give it to Uncle Sam, just every time I talk to you, tell me some other thing I've never heard of before, and I'm like, wait, we can do this? Like, do you have like a little pocket guide of like all the cheat codes to get through life? That's
So
what.
this ESOP we just did, they worked with the private bank people out of our wealth planner out of Charlotte for over a year. and the attorney. So we were bringing, and the CPA. We were bringing everybody to the table because, you know, with SLATs, where you can spousal limited access trust, where, you know, great estate planning tools. So this situation, we had warrants, and you, at some point you need to tell about warrants, because that's the kicker. That's the gravy on the ESOP.
Yeah. That's, we say having your cake, eating it too, and then getting another cake.
I like this.
Yeah.
See?
So warrants, very low value, and they mature 10 years out. And if
typically very high value.
With typically very high value.
Okay.
So for doing estate planning purposes, it's a great strategy to put in a trust that avoids the next, or goes to the next generation.
That's right.
Well, from a private equity perspective, of course, I do, as you very well know, personal branding, and so like really positioning the founder, the leader, the CEO, the senior executive to be able to leverage his or her professional reputation to drive business results. But then once you drive those results and you are increasing your revenue, however way you choose to do that, to make yourself more marketable, what happens when, like, your contact is like, well, what if you go away? Is the company still as valuable without your face as the leader? Is that something that you see, that where you have to like start kind of sunsetting the main figure and amplifying other faces in the brand, or just making it?
I think absolutely.
Absolutely.
The ESOP only works with a strong management team, right? Meredith?
Absolutely. And that will be ferreted out, by the way, during the planning to do an ESOP transaction. Any good trustee is going to ask, hey, I'd like to talk to the management team, and I'd like to understand your day-to-day operations. If this is your lifestyle business and you are the face and you are all of the relationships, then you better plan on extending your runway an extra couple of years
to start backing, because it is very much a great tool, but then you get to a point where it becomes not so great.
So maybe I'm the face of the company, and then for a year we are the face of the company, and then the next year he is the face of the company, and I'm off behind his right shoulder.
Love it.
And you want the clients to feel like it's been such a consistent experience along the way that they're comfortable with that.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. Now, okay, so we talked about just money. Let's talk about feelings. So there is a huge emotional component to selling your baby.
Mm-hmm.
Your baby. So what do you see, or what patterns do you see when owners don't prepare early enough, either financially or they don't prepare emotionally? Like what do you see?
If you're a type A like Steve Trover, you better have a hobby.
And Bill Wichard.
You better have a hobby, you better have charitable intent, or you better start a new business.
Just start another business.
I was going to say, I can tell you what Steve Trover would say.
My most miserable clients are type A clients who sold their business without
nothing else to do,
a backup plan.
And they call you like 5 times a day because you are their hobby. Am I right?
Right, exactly. And if they're married, their wives are miserable too.
Yeah, I see a lot of
their
that.
Husbands.
I get the wives call me like, "Can you give my husband a job? Yeah, get him out of the house. He is micromanaging the water heater." Well, that is definitely something to look out for. And then also, I mean, we've talked a lot about succession. If there are family members who've maybe operated in the business and their livelihood is connected to the business, like that conversation, is that you refereeing, or do you provide some kind of like talk points like you were talking about, some conversation cues?
Well, Wells Fargo has such a toolbox. Bring in family dynamics, sir. I've definitely leaned on them. If we have like internal literal, I'll let you explain that. But
therapists on staff, what we got?
Psychiatrists.
You're literally on staff to deal with that.
But that's where also I think involving the family in the planning process.
Yeah.
And, you know, if everybody's aware and they're not surprises.
What's in it for me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they understand why you did certain things, it's going to always end better.
Well, let's talk about keeping family members happy at the Thanksgiving table.
Oh, you just stole my line. That's what we always say. Like,
I stole it from his son, in fairness. I stole it from his son's LinkedIn post. I'm not going to lie. Let's talk. So definitely ESOP is a beautiful opportunity. There's also another opportunity, which I have learned loads about this year, and another huge reason why I wanted to talk to you. Let's talk about, or walk us through high level first, 1031 to DST to 721 and UPREIT.
Yep.
That sounds so complicated.
It sure does. That's a lot of
But
letters.
it really is a great tool
great.
for property managers that are selling out, because quite often the new buyer doesn't want the real estate.
Right.
Right.
They just want the company.
They want the company, but they're willing to lease the real estate, and the maintenance buildings and the laundry house, whatever you have. But guess what? You're getting a brand new lease, so the property is at its highest value, and the owners have depreciated it down. So if they sell it outright, they're going to get killed in taxes, right? So the opportunity is to do a 1031. A 1031 is, Section 1031 of the IRS tax code. You can sell a property, and upon closing, as long as you don't take possession, you can roll it into another like-kind property, another rental property, and defer paying taxes.
We love that.
Yep. And if you die with it, the new property that you've owned, the heirs inherit it at a stepped-up basis, and you avoided taxes completely.
So explain real quick stepped-up basis for those who might not understand what that means.
A stepped-up basis just means that if you bought a building for $1 million and you depreciated it down, it's worth $200, and you were to sell it, you'd have an $800,000 capital gain. A stepped-up basis takes the property to date of death value.
Okay.
And you can sell it at that value and not pay any tax. That's a beautiful thing.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. There are products out there. A lot of these owners are tired of the maintenance, and we call it the 3 T's: the toilets, the tenants, and the trash. You've heard that from William.
I have.
Yep, the 3 T's. But they like real estate, and they don't want to pay taxes, so they want to do a 1031. They just don't want to do it they're tired of active management. They're ready to go passive. There's things out there called Delaware statutory trusts, which are pools of properties. So, the last one, I think, in our stable had maybe 13, 14 properties worth $400 million. So you're going from one property into a share of a Delaware statutory trust. Great diversification, regular, steady income that you can count on. So a lot of people are happy just doing that. And they say, I went from one property, active, to passive Delaware statutory trust. I'm happy with that. I die, my heirs get a stepped up cost basis. There's another strategy out there, and when you combine a 1031 with a 721, it gets really sexy. Yeah, exactly. A 721 allows you to go from the Delaware statutory trust. A 721 is also in the tax code. It's a partnership exchange, which is also tax deferred. So you go from a 1031 through a 721 UPREIT, you end up in a mega REIT. The one on our platform is $7 million, 180 properties in 26 states. Stuff like Amazon distribution centers, pretty safe apartment complexes in Seattle, outside of Microsoft.
Right.
Stuff like that. And the beauty of that is after 2 years in the 721, you've got liquidity. Think about a traditional 1031 exchange. If you need money, you either got to borrow against it, which a lot of people are tired of borrowing money after they've sold, or you've got to sell the whole thing and pay taxes on the whole thing.
And where's the market at that point?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. With once this thing is liquid, you own shares in a REIT at a prorated cost basis, which means, let's just make it simple. If it's 50% and you have, let's say you've got $5 million in this mega REIT and you need $1 million. 50% cost basis. You sell $1 million, you pay taxes on $500,000. You've got $1 million, so you've got liquidity, which is also beautiful. The other big factor, and I think in my mind this might be the biggest one of all, is estate planning.
Yes.
That's the Thanksgiving dinner.
Agreed.
We've got a farm in Chowan County owned by 11 cousins.
And granddaddy had it, and great-granddaddy had it, and we got to keep it in this family.
We're not selling it until we die, because y'all are going to be able to make a decision together. Guess what? I'm glad I'm not making a decision with my sister.
Right.
I love her, but
Me too.
I'm glad I'm not making a decision with her.
Or making a decision from the grave.
Well,
Right.
Think about commercial property. You have 3 siblings that inherit a commercial building. One might want to keep it. The other 2 might want to sell. What's going to happen? There's going to be hurt feelings. Yeah. When you inherit shares of the mega REIT, each heir inherits shares just like shares of a stock. If they want to keep it, they can keep it, keep getting the income. If they want to sell it.
Your
how about it?
tagline for this thing should be "Just do you, boo." Everybody do what you want with this. Like you
That's
could
right.
keep your money in there, you could pull it out, you could borrow against it, like you make it liquid, whatever you want. It's just do you. Yep.
One more quick thing about it. A lot of times people have debt on property.
Yeah.
With this strategy, you can make the debt disappear too. They will actually recapitalize the debt. So let's make it easy. Take a $10 million deal. You got $3 million in debt. When it goes from, normally if you did a traditional 1031, the bank would want the $3 million.
Sure.
Right, and you would have $3 million of tax liability. With this strategy, the company will recapitalize the debt at SOFR plus, call it 1, but you're getting 4.5 on the REIT, so the cost of capital is really low. But then when it goes to the mega REIT, in that situation, you had $3 million of debt, $10 million property, you end up with $7 million in the mega REIT, and the debt disappears. So I mean,
Great way to clean up the books.
Right?
exactly.
I know.
There's some really cool features.
So I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Meredith, and that is, who is this for? Who is this not for?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's on the Wells Fargo accredited or alternative platform. So you have to be an accredited investor, which means you have to have $1 million of liquid net worth.
Okay.
And there's lack of liquidity in the first 2 years. So
Sure.
it's completely locked up. There's no guarantee, and I must say that it will go to the 721. So it has not faltered in the past, but you can't make a guarantee. It's on the alternative platform. So it's for people that probably this would be a portion of their assets. We'd never advise someone to do it if it was,
all in.
Most,
all
Yeah,
in.
this is what we got.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So same question, and I have a feeling it's similar, but I just want to be very clear for anybody watching because these are not the easiest strategies to wrap our minds around. So what do we need to start exploring, and what do we need to start tracking or organizing now in order to participate in the 1031 to DST to
Well, you need to
721?
understand your cost basis. A lot of people don't know how their depreciation schedule. They haven't looked at it. They think I can sell this, and they need to understand that they can't take possession of the money. It's got to go with a qualified intermediary. If you take possession of the money and decide you want to do this, you're too late. You can't do it. But we involve the CPA and the attorney.
Yeah.
We never want anybody to do this unless it's been vetted by those guys.
Yeah.
We want their stamp of approval. It's a great opportunity for us to educate other professionals as well.
Yeah.
So I think bringing all the advisors to the table is a big issue.
Yeah, and I want everybody watching to follow both of them on LinkedIn, as well as William Witchard III, Bill's son, because this is all he talks about on LinkedIn, like 100% of the time, and it's fascinating. So as we wrap up, and thank you both so much for sharing your wisdom, because this is like big, scary stuff, and I think both of you just do a beautiful job of like taking it down to planet Earth where the rest of us live. So thank you. My next question for both of you is, if I was like, I'm doing this, like this is part of my 2026 resolution, 90-day sprint, what do you suggest? ESOP 90-day sprint, and what do you suggest for your side of things?
If somebody said I want to do a 90-day sprint and I know nothing about ESOPs today, you need to get on and do an ESOP 101 phone call. Get my group to give you enough foundational knowledge, and then it's go, no go. Do I want to answer the question, would this be feasible for my business if I wanted to do it? It does not obligate you to ever do it, but it answers the question, would it be feasible?
Yeah.
You can, for not a ton of money, hire a really seasoned ESOP advisor that, I'm a big fan, introduce you to 3, you pick the one you like the best. They would be able to look under the hood. Here's a sell side value range for you. Here's what selling part of it to an ESOP is versus 100%. Here's you deferring your own personal capital gains taxes versus you paying them. That is called a feasibility study, and if you ask me what's a good 90-day sprint, learn what it is, and you may say, I don't need to do any more. I hate the idea of sharing with my people. If you're still curious, see if it's feasible. And even after a feasibility, you can say, pencils down, that was interesting. I want to grow it for 2 more years, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the best use of your
But
time and your money.
We're start here, or like on a mall map, you are here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You are here.
Yeah.
And now you can decide, where am I going?
Great, wonderful. And your 90-day sprint for somebody who wants to sell the business, they're keeping their land, their buildings, whatever. Now what do I do? 90 days.
Yeah, it's a financial plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew you were coming out with that.
Hey, we need to know the number, and it's a financial plan accompanied by a not feasibility study, but evaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that number today? Does that work for you or not? If it doesn't work, what steps do you need to take to get it to the level?
Let's go ahead and forecast what those numbers need to be.
Exactly.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hope everyone who's watching or will watch in the future found as much value out of this as I personally have. Spread the word. Where do we find you at the conference?
We have a booth right by the registration center.
Right across registration, and you have chocolate at your booth. So I'm all about that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Amber. This was very fun.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Such juicy stuff, guys.